Hey, Tommy from the Run Testers. In this video, we are going to be doing a versus of the Nike Pegasus 40 and the Puma Velocity Nitro 3. Let's dive in. The Puma Velocity Nitro 3 costs £110 or $135. It weighs 271 grams or 9.6 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 10mm. The Nike Pegasus 40 costs £119.99 or $130. It weighs 272 grams or 9.6 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 10mm. Thankfully, the Puma Velocity Nitro 3 isn't a major overhaul to the hugely popular Puma Velocity Nitro 2, instead making a few adjustments to improve the overall experience of the shoe. The biggest of those is a slight increase to the amount of dual density midsole foam to improve comfort, although this does increase the weight slightly. There's also a modified padding design that aims to improve comfort, specifically around the heel, and new power tape strips on the upper to improve structure and support. As with all previous generations, there's an impressive covering of the brand's excellent Puma Grip outsole rubber, meaning it can tackle all conditions, even lighter trails. The Pegasus 40 has long been Nike's affordable workhorse daily trainer designed for ticking off the miles in comfort. The shoe combines a moderate level of Nike React foam for a good level of cushioning, with 2 Air Zoom units for added bounce and responsiveness. The result is a balanced shoe that aims to cover a wide range of sessions, from short recovery efforts to long runs. The React foam offers a slightly firmer ride, but by doing so improves stability and support for runners that want added security. The upper is where the most recent version sees the changes, with a single mesh layer now including an implemented midfoot band designed to be comfortable but also provide a good lockdown fit. On the outsole, there's a generous layer of rubber to provide a high level of protection for the midsole foam and ensure a good amount of grip on varied road surfaces and even lighter trails.
I found that both the Pegasus 40 and the Velocity Nitro 3 fit me well in my normal running shoe size. I've got a UK 9 for both of them, which is a US 10 with both brands. I'd say the Velocity is a notably narrower shoe. You can see it either on the foot or in the hand there, but I've got a narrow foot that suits me quite well. I had no concerns of either around the heel. They're both quite well padded, but they didn't irritate my Achilles or anything, and they held the midfoot nicely. So all round the fit was good for me in my normal size, but I would say the Velocity is a bit narrower. Look out for that maybe if you have a wide foot.
So the fit for me in these two shoes, I am a size 8 in the UK. These are both size 8s. They're very similar sized shoes. I find them very comfortable. There's plenty of space in the forefoot in both of these shoes, and I definitely stay to my UK size in these. The only difference I think is that the Puma Velocity Nitro 3 is slightly narrower. Not a problem for me. I've got fairly average width feet, so I've had no issues at all, but I definitely think there's a bit more room in the Pegasus 40. So if you do have really wide feet, then that might be a better opportunity to pick up those. But really, sizing for me, both of these absolutely perfect in my size in the UK.
So I would view both of these shoes as kind of cushioned daily trainers. They both sit in the middle of their brand's ranges. They're not the top most cushioned shoe available. They're also a bit cheaper than the top cushioned shoes, things like the Invincible on Nike's side or the Magnify on Puma's side. They both are pretty well cushioned in the midsole there, as are pretty much all shoes these days, but they're fairly lightweight. So in theory, they can do a nice bit of everything, and they are both reasonably versatile shoes, but I definitely think the Velocity Nitro is the more versatile shoe. It's a little bit lighter for one, but also just the foams in the midsole, I think, add up to create a better ride for a variety of runs than the Pegasus, which I do think is a solid shoe. I enjoyed testing the Pegasus 40. I probably slightly preferred the Pegasus 39 just because it was a little bit lighter, but I view the Pegasus more as an easy day cruiser only. Like, you can pick up the pace a little bit in it, but I don't think you're getting a lot of response from the foam. It's durable, it's hardy, it's a good workhorse shoe, and you can do a bit of everything in it, but while you can do, I don't think I necessarily would want to do everything in the Pegasus. I would just use it pretty much for easy stuff. And the way it almost snaps through, I think it doesn't have as much cushioning under the forefoot as the Velocity and other shoes, which I think might make it a little bit less comfortable for speed work for me than the Velocity, which is a really comfortable shoe. Like, it's got that softer foam in the midsole. The Nitro foam that Puma has here is just a better foam than the stuff in the Nike. It's softer and more comfortable, but it's also bouncier, more lively and lighter. So the shoe is lighter, despite the fact it's got a really thick, good outsole on it. Although, to be fair, the Nike also has a very good outsole. It just means it's a bit smoother. They've both got a 10mm drop, but I do think you get a slightly smoother transition with the Puma. It just feels lighter and nimbler, helped probably a little bit by its narrower design. And it just means when you do try to pick up the pace in the shoe, it feels a bit better in the Puma. And then I do think it's also a bit more comfortable just for very relaxed runs as well. Like, when running in both shoes at the same time, it's quite noticeable. You just get a better ride from the stuff in the Puma here, the midsole here, and I don't really think it comes with any downside. So maybe on terms of overall durability, maybe the Pegasus will last a bit longer, but I don't think there's any real durability problems with the Velocity that I've noticed in previous generations of the shoe. And like I say, it's a bit livelier, a bit more fun, a bit more comfortable, a bit smoother. Just everything about it, I think I slightly prefer the ride of the Velocity. Like I said, they've both got really good outsoles, so that's not a huge differentiating factor, but I still think the Pumas is slightly better. Puma Grip is such a good outsole, and it does grip really well on wet pavement. So yeah, all round, I'd have the Velocity head on the run test. I've enjoyed it more for a mix of runs, from easy runs, long runs, up to faster stuff as well.
So these shoes are actually really similar in what they deliver, what they do, what they're designed to do, and how they feel actually. What I would say is that I'll start with the Pegasus 40. So I've never been a massive fan of the Pegasus range. It developed quite a lot over its time, but the past few versions have been designed for sort of the same thing. It is a solid daily workhorse shoe. It's the sort of shoe that you see quite a lot of people buying as maybe their first shoe, or if they're looking for a cheaper shoe in comparison to some of the other Nike shoes out there, or other brands. But it's also not a particularly exciting shoe. It does have these air zoom sections in the forefoot. It's got the React foam midsole, but it's not a particularly exciting shoe to run in. It just does the job. You can go out and tick off the miles. There's no issues in it at all. But also, it's a bit of a dull shoe for me. It doesn't really do a great deal. It's fine. I'm more than happy running it for all of my easy runs, maybe recovery runs. Probably wouldn't use it for long runs because it just doesn't have enough energy in it for me. I think I'd really struggle if I was using this for anything over half marathon distance. I'd really notice that midsole foam is not really giving me much back. But overall, yeah, it's fine. It's solid. It's good value. They've always been priced quite well for what they do, and they last a good while as well. The outsole on the Pegasus 40 and previous Pegasus shoes is really good. It's got a good grip on it. You can probably use it for lighter trails and stuff like that, and definitely does a good job on wet roads and things. So solid, durable, daily workhorse shoe. Doesn't have a lot of versatility for me. There's quite a lot of cushioning in it. It just doesn't feel soft enough for me for those easy runs or long runs, but does the job for pretty much everything, and it's very comfortable as well. Puma Velocity Nitro 3, it's quite similar in many ways. It's a daily shoe really designed to tick a lot of boxes, do a lot of daily miles in comfort, give you plenty of support and cushioning, but there's just a bit more to it for me. It's a bit more versatile. The midsole foam, it's not the softest midsole foam in the world, but there's a bit more to it. Puma foam tends to compress a little bit more and give you a little bit more back when you're running in it, and I definitely feel that with the Velocity Nitro 3. Also, it's a little bit better at running faster as well. It's definitely a more versatile shoe. I would never do interval sessions or go out for a fast run in the Pegasus 40. Wouldn't do it very often in the Puma Velocity Nitro 3, but if I was on holiday or something and I wanted a shoe that I needed to do my training in for a week or two and I could only take one pair of shoes, I'd definitely go for this shoe over the Pegasus 40 just because there's a bit more to it. It just feels like there's a bit of more pickup on it. It just feels a bit more energy return in it, and overall it's just a more enjoyable shoe to run in for different types of runs. Likewise, it is a shoe that people tend to pick up because they want something that does the job but isn't too expensive. But what we've said about the Puma Velocity line in the past is that despite its cost, and it is one of the cheapest good shoes out there, there's lots of cheap shoes out there that aren't very good, and we don't really review them on the channel because they don't really fit into the same bracket. But this is a shoe that really sits in that sort of good value world, but really competes with shoes that are much better than it. So things like the Fresh Foam line up until recently, the 1080 V12 and V13, those shoes, it's just better than them. It's got a nicer midsole, it's better for daily runs, and it's just more comfortable. And that shoe is a lot more expensive than this shoe. So we've often said that this shoe really punches above its weight, and it can compete with shoes that are a lot more expensive than it. The Pegasus 40 doesn't really do that. It is priced correctly, and you're getting what you're paying for in it. Both are good, very durable shoes. You've got a fantastic Puma Grip outsole on the Puma Velocity Nitro 3. And yeah, overall, it's just a really great shoe to have in your collection, just to ticking off those miles. And it can do quite a lot. It's not the most versatile shoe in the world. It's not a particularly fast shoe, but it's definitely veers more towards that easy daily shoe world, but can do a bit more. The Pegasus 40 for me doesn't really move any further than daily runs. You can't go faster in it, and it's not very nice when you try and run fast in this shoe. So my verdicts on these two shoes, definitely the Puma Velocity Nitro 3. I just think it's a little bit more versatile. I think it's better value. I think it just has a nicer midsole in it. It just feels nicer when you're out running in it. For me, it's not the best shoe in the world. I think there's much better shoes out there which I would use for easy runs. There's much better shoes I'd obviously use for running faster in. And for my daily runs, if I wanted something a bit more versatile, I'd go for the Endorphin Speed 3 or something like that, maybe even the 4, but I've not tested that yet. But for the price bracket, which is a daily shoe that really fits into that lower end of the cost spectrum, it is fantastic, and there's not very much out there that compete with it, especially definitely at that price mark. So I'm going for the Puma Velocity Nitro 3 all the way. The Pegasus 40 is fine. It's definitely a shoe that I wouldn't go pay full price for, because I think this one is the Puma Velocity Nitro 3 is a much better option. But both of these shoes are often discounted, and if you get earlier versions of these shoes as well. My friend recently picked up the Puma Velocity Nitro 2 for about £50, which is absolute madness for what you get from this shoe. That is great value, and you're getting a brilliant shoe because there's not many differences between the 3 and the 2, so it's well worth picking that up. Same goes with the Pegasus 40. If you can get it cheap, it's good. It's a good value shoe to have in your collection. It does the job. It's solid. Definitely a great shoe if you're a beginner or you don't want to spend a lot of money. But if you're comparing based on the price and what you get from it, I'm going Velocity Nitro 3 all the way.
So clear and easy verdict for me here, which probably will come as no surprise if you watch the channel. Everyone knows I like the Puma Velocity Nitro, and I really like the Puma Velocity Nitro 3, and I think it's a better shoe all round than the Nike Pegasus 40. It's also a cheaper shoe on a list price, I think, especially in the UK. Both of these shoes are in sales quite a lot though. Maybe the Pegasus 40 is available for a big discount at the moment. Might maybe consider a little bit different between them, because the Pegasus is still a pretty good, comfortable, cushioned daily trainer, but I just think the Velocity is the shoe I'd rather use for pretty much any kind of run, so that just makes it an easy pick for me in this versus. So your factors to maybe look at the Pegasus, it is a slightly wider shoe, which will not only help some people with fit, but maybe makes it a little bit more stable. But I've had no stability concerns with the Puma. I'm not a runner who uses stability shoes that much, so I can't say for sure that it is a very stable shoe, but I don't think it's a particularly unstable shoe. But maybe the Nike will have a bit more stability on that front. But in general, I do think the Velocity is the shoe to go for out of these. It's just a more enjoyable shoe all round. Also, very good previous versions of both of these shoes. If you're looking at the newest version of both of these shoes, I would say don't hesitate to look at the Pegasus 39 or the Velocity Nitro 2 as very good alternatives as well, because there are a lot of similarities. The older shoes are slightly lighter as well. You get a little bit more cushioning in the Velocity Nitro 3 than the 2, but overall performance is pretty similar, so you could look at the previous version of either shoe, but I would be looking purely on the Puma side. If I were you, I'd get the Velocity 2 or the Velocity 3.
That's it from us. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the little bell, all those things that make us smile. And if you go into the caption below, you can find a link to our podcast, which comes out at the end of each month. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.